Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. Today, we're going to go over how I do my CA finish, so stick around. To begin with, these blanks have already been sanded down to 600 grit. So any pores that were still open on the wood are pretty much closed at this point. So we can start with a couple of layers of thin CA and then move on to medium. Now the brand I use is Mercury Adhesive Thin and Medium. This particular kind, as well as the Mercury Flex, were both designed with finishing in mind, not just bonding. There are other brands out there that you can do a finish with, but 6 months down the road or sometime when you leave your pen in the car and it gets too hot, that finish is going to crack. This one, as well as I believe BSI, have both been formulated to not allow that cracking to occur. So what we're going to start with is putting on a couple of thin coats of CA. A couple of things I recommend doing when doing a CA finish, is make sure that you have something laid down on top of your lathe that's going to catch any extra CA that may drop off of the blank. The other thing, or one of the other things, is to have your pieces of paper cut up beforehand so you have that all ready to go. And the last thing is to make sure that you're wearing at least one glove, and that'll be the glove holding the paper. CA on fingers doesn't go along very well. The main enemy of CA is heat and friction. Those are going to be the items that cause CA to set. So what you want to do is turn down your lathe about as slow as it can go. Right now this is at 178 revolutions a minute. So that's a fairly slow rotation. Actually, that's a really slow rotation. I could actually go down to 60 if I want, but I want to try this one first. And I'm going to start applying the CA, and because it's going so slow, it's not going to build up friction as quick. The previous lathe that I had, the slowest it would go was 500 revolutions a minute. Well, I'm doing that wrong. Slowest it would go was 500 revolutions a minute. And that meant that when I was doing this step with the thin, it was building up heat while it was rotating. So this stuff would set really fast. And that would cause a lot of hills and valleys in the CA itself. So I'm going to let that set for a minute and then we'll come back. So as you can see, this has dried with a relatively smooth finish. We're still going to smooth it out with micro mesh and by polishing it. But to start with, for a first round of thin, I think that's pretty good. So let's start this back up and we'll put on our second coat. One last thing you want to make sure of when you're doing a CA finish like this is wear a shirt that you aren't going to mind losing. Because once you get CA on a shirt, it's going to look terrible for the rest of its life. And you're going to have fun explaining to everybody why it looks like you've got toothpaste on the front of your shirt. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit this with some activator. Stop the lathe, and that's looking pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to move on to medium now. And make sure you move your cloth or paper back and forth to spread the CA evenly. And that way it has a good chance of forming an even coat. Okay, next coat coming on. And let's hit that with some activator. See how we look. Okay, starting to get some hills and valleys in it, but that's okay, as I've got a step in my procedure to take care of that rather quickly. So I'm going to stop the camera at this point, and I'm going to add 2 to 3 more coats of medium CA, and then come back and show you how to start getting rid of those hills and valleys. Alright, so we've got our CA built up. I've got 2 layers of thin and 4 layers of medium all put on here, and that's about the most I ever use anymore since I've switched over to mercury. I don't have to try to put on 10 layers of CA to get a nice flat finish. I'm going to show you the trick now. As you can see, there's a lot of waviness here. Now some guys will sit here and micro mesh that for days to get that down. I, however, have found if I turn this up to about 1000 RPM and I come in here with some 600 grit sandpaper, let's slow it down a little too much. There we go. So come in here with some 600 and I'll start sanding back that CA. Now, I'm not doing this really hard. I'm just doing it enough so that I'm knocking down those hills down to the level of the valleys, trying to get it all on one level. Okay, I'm going to stop here and show you what I've got so far. And you can still see there are some bright areas in here. I don't know if you can see it as well as I can, but there are definitely some valleys, some dips in that have not been hit by the sandpaper yet. This one is just about there. There's a few places still need to get hit, and this one has quite a few. So I'm going to turn the camera off while I finish this, and I'll come back and show you the finished product prior to micromesh. These have now been sanded to the point of where just about 99% of the high spots have been taken down to match with the low. There's still a few spaces here and there where you can see some shiny spots, but they're not big enough that I'm going to worry about it from this point. If you get too aggressive with your sandpaper, you could actually take too much of the CA off, and then you're starting right back at square one. So from here, I've got one last step that I'm going to do, and then switch over to micromesh. When you're using non-stick bushings to do a CA finish, you'll get a little bit of buildup of CA, like right here. You'll learn where to position stuff. So right here you can see there's a little piece hanging off, and it's a little bit worse on this side. You got a lot hanging off here. So what I'll do is take a piece of like 320, 400 grit sandpaper, put it on the ways, and gently rotate and sand that off. And once you get down to where you're even with the brass is when you stop. The problem you can run into if you don't do something like this is if you come in here and just try to break that off, that extra piece of CA that's hanging off, you could end up chipping the finish that's left on the pen. And at that point, you're either filling in and sanding back, or cutting off the CA and starting from square one, which is never fun. When you're doing this, you're not sanding so much that you're taking any length off of the pen blank itself. You're just making sure that the extra CA is being taken care of. Okay, and that part is done. So we put this back on with the bushings. And we are now ready to finish this pen blank. Now this first pad is not going to produce any kind of shine. You're going to get a matte finish from this. You're going to get basically a matte finish from the first 3 if you're using the 9-step grits on micro mesh. There are other packages out there that I believe only use 6. Regardless of which one you use, you're looking for this to form on your pad. And that's called a slurry. That is where the material has been taken off of the blank and is now showing up on micro mesh. And you want to have 2 different buckets of water available. One is to clean off the slurry. And you shake that off and put some fresh water on that doesn't have any of the particulate in it. Alright, so that is all back to a matte finish except for down on this end. There's a couple of high spots on there. So I'm going to take those down and then work on this side. This has been through the first pad of micro mesh. The entire surface is now down to a matte finish. So this is now ready to move on to the next level of micro mesh and progress through the entire series. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that. I'll film the whole thing and let you watch it, but I'm going to shut up for a while. The only thing less I have to say is I did go ahead and bring over some paper towels. When you guys are starting off with this, or even, probably even I should stick with paper towel. It's just so much safer than cloth is when drying off in here. Paper will rip, the cloth won't. That'll pull your hand right into that lathe and bring your arm around, break that wrist, break your fingers. Next thing you know, you're in a cast and it's 6 months before you can turn again. So I don't want to do that, and I doubt that you do either. One last thing, once you do get it down to a matte finish, it doesn't take a lot of time to get through the remaining grits. You just have to spend maybe 30 seconds on each side or on each grit until you make it through all 6 or 9 of them, whichever set you have. This will probably be, if not the last, it'll be in the next to the last grit that you will end up getting a slurry on. Once you get into the 4,000 grit range, you're not going to be taking off that much material. And if you're taking off enough to see slurry at that point, you're going too hard and you're going to wear out your micro mesh prematurely. What I have here is a cotton wheel that I charge with blue jeweler's rouge. Gets a little dusty. Normally I'd like to wear breathing protection, but since I'm giving an example here, this one time I will make an exception. So this is charged. What I'm going to do now is use it to do a final polish on each of these blanks, and then I will use this clean one to do a final buff. That's looking nice and flat and shiny. So now I'm just going to do a final buff on it. I'll turn my speed up a little bit here. Look at that finish. It's absolutely beautiful. There's some little bit of cotton residue that needs to get taken off of here, but the shine that comes off of this after you do this procedure is just amazing. And the thing you can do now is you could take a jeweler's eyepiece to this and you wouldn't see any scratches now, because I used that jeweler's rouge and the buffing wheel. This is a nice, flat, highly reflective surface. So let me get this cleaned up and we'll go to pen assembly. So I'm going to start by assembling the middle section. That went in well. Now I'm going to start with the bottom piece. As you can tell, I'm limited on space here in the shop, so I gotta fit this thing in wherever I can. Something doesn't seem right about that, but I'm gonna go ahead and run with it. Figures. Well, everyone, I give up. I had an assembly problem with this, and I went to disassemble it, and that happened. The end broke off, brass tube came out. This is just a complete disaster. I don't even know if I can find that piece that fell off. Oh, I give up. So I'm going to look for that missing piece, see if I can't repair it, but I would not expect to see this blank to see the light of day. That's the way the cookie crumbles. So unfortunately, not everything always goes as planned. The blank was a total loss. I found a portion of the part that broke off, but I'm not going to be able to repair it this time. There's just too much of it gone, and the way it broke, it would look very odd to repair it with another patch of epoxy. I'm going to go back to plan B and try working on the cholla cactus blank. I've got a really nice kit that I want to put this color on, the blue and silver mixture. You can expect to see a pen turning video using the cholla cactus plank, and we'll get this pen finished together. All right, I'd like to thank you all for sticking around tonight and watching how I do my CA finish. If you have any questions regarding how I do it, feel free to drop me an email or leave a comment below and I'll get right back to you. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell so that you get notifications when I release something new. If you like what I did tonight, why don't you hit that like button too. Once again, thank you all for stopping by this evening, and I'll talk to you later.